Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. So again, hi everyone. Welcome to the National Research Collaborative for Foster Alumni in Higher Ed webinar series. My name is Amy Salazar. I'm on the executive leadership team for the NRC FAHE. The slide that you see here has the NRC FAHE website on it. If you aren't already getting our emails about upcoming webinars and newsletters and other things, you can go to this website, scroll down to the bottom of the website, and you'll see a place where you can subscribe to the listserv, and feel free to share that information with others, with any calls if you might be interested. Also, my email address is here. If you're having any trouble signing up for webinars or getting on our listserv, please feel free to email me. So I wanted to go ahead and say, usually at the beginning of each webinar, I talk about the next webinar, but this is May, so we typically take the summers off for webinars. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that our next webinar will be in August, and we'll be sending an email out prior to that time to let you all know what the next upcoming webinars are so that you can register. So today, our presenters will be presenting for about 35-40 minutes. And then we'll open up for Q&A time after the presentation. For Q&A time, what we typically do is, as the presentation is going along, if you have questions that come up for you, go ahead and type them into the chat box, and we'll hold on to those questions until the end. But go ahead and type them in as the presentation goes along so you don't forget them. And then at the end of the presentation, I'll read those questions out for our presenters so that they can answer them. So today, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speakers for today. So today's presenters will be Dr. Sonja Montas-Hunter, Ana Ramos, Hoi Huang, and Sofia Fernandez, all from Florida International University. In their presentation entitled Fostering Panther Pride, Collaboration on Supporting Success for Former Foster Youth and Homeless Students in College, will introduce the Fostering Panther Pride, or FPP program, a campus support program at Florida International University. So I will go ahead and hand it over to our presenters.
Hi, this is Sonja Montas-Hunter, and I guess I'm just waiting. Oh, there we go. Okay. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sonja Montas-Hunter. I am the AVP of a unit called Student Access and Success at FIU. And one of the programs that we host in our unit is called Fostering Panther Pride, which is a program, an academic and support services program for former foster youth and homeless students in college. So our presentation today will tell you a little bit about how we work to support this population of students at FIU. So next slide. So our presentation will go as follows. We're going to talk a little bit about the history so you get some context. We're going to share with you some of our partners, internal and external. We'll share with you some data, including some student profiles and some outcomes. And we'll go over our service components. And we also are fortunate enough to be able to do work with faculty to engage in some research on how we use best practices, and we're on a continuous improvement plan for our program and how to better serve this population of students. Next slide, please. So FIU is the only public university in South Florida. There is a University of South Florida in Central Florida, but we're in Miami, the southernmost point, almost biggest city in Southern Florida. We have about 54,000 students, approximately 44,000 of which are undergraduate students. We're a Research One university, and we have over 30 or so doctoral programs, 100 or so master's programs, and over 100 undergraduate programs as well. So Florida is unique in that we provide a tuition exemption for students that are are former foster care students. And we also provide a tuition exemption for students who can be certified as homeless per the HUD guidelines and meet the definition established by our Florida Board of Governors. They, in addition to that, Florida also provides students with an additional stipend of almost a little over $1,200 to be able to transition from foster care onto the university. So now we're going to tell you a little bit more about our program. I'll let Ana Ramos is the director of the program, and she, along with our success coach, Barbie Parra, manage the day-to-day operations of the Fostering Panther Pride program. Ana?
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My name is Ana Ramos, as Dr. Montas introduced me, and I am the program director of the Fostering Panther Pride. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how the program was created. In 2013, there were a few community partners that they were interested in creating programs within the universities and the colleges in the state of Florida to support the students who age out from foster care. Through that initiative, Fostering Panther Pride was created. So we launched the program officially in 2014, in February of 2014, and since then we have serviced around 523 students, in which it has been within homeless and foster care youth. Our main role is to be advocates, to be liaisons between the community and between the university departments to remove any barriers that the students can face during their journey in the school through their process of graduation. Next slide, please. So our model of success when we created a program was focusing in 3 areas, which is the access. And when we were working in the larger scope of services, we were thinking about creating that bridge between high school students and students who want to access to higher education. So we start working with the the high school counselors, and we got referrals from them, and we start working with the students, making sure that they have their ACT, their SATs, referring them to tutoring services. The university has different programs within our undergrad programs that they offer tutoring services for students who are in high school from the low income areas. So we incorporated that piece into the model of success, so we can have different pathways for the students who are not admitted directly to the university because their scores are low. We have different programs in the university that students can get into. I have to clarify that this program is not an admissions program. We have summer bridge program, and that's one of the parts that we were thinking when we created the access piece, and having the students who don't meet the minimum criteria of the school to get through the summer bridge program, which is the Golden Scholars and FIU. And through that program, we have students who can access. Then we have the retention and graduation piece, which focus in removing any barrier for the students and avoiding for them to drop out and completing their degree. So we work very closely with advisors, we work very closely with housing, we work very closely with counseling services, and with every department in the university, making sure that the students receive the services that they need, and making sure the students, they don't have any gaps that it would prevent them to continue for their graduation. And one of those gaps is housing balances, or if they have any other issues with finances, we make sure that the students, they have their accounts clear so they can continue. And the last piece is the employment and further education. We have the transition to graduate school. If the students that want to continue graduate school, they can. We do work with them in identifying the programs that they would like to transition to, or we introduce them to the workforce. We have different community partners that they are offering now internships for the students, We do have a program that we fly them into our DC office to go to Congress and explore internships and job placements. And we do that every semester. So that's one of the parts that we are working right now to improve and to make sure that the students who are graduating are transitioned to whether it graduate school or to employment. Next slide, please. So this is some of our donors that we have in FIU. We do work very closely with the Helios Foundation. They have provided some funding for us to support the students who enter during the summer. The summer is one of the periods that we have a lot of difficulty with the students because they don't have enough credits to take during the summer, or because the term is really short and the students, they are afraid to take more than 9 credits or 7 credits. So they usually create a gap because the financial aid is not fully Pell Grant. So we usually work with our donors, and this is an example of who we work with. We have the President Council, the University President Council, that they do raise funds for the program. We do have community partners like Educate Tomorrow that they work with us, and now they are point of service for the students who are homeless, and they can verify the homeless status. We do have work with PepsiCo. PepsiCo is offering internships for our students, and we have some students that they will be hired after they completed the first internship. So we are providing services with community partners depending on the need of the students. So this is some of the examples of the places that we work with. Next slide, please. So just to give you some data, we have some students. You can see the data in the slide, but I wanted to add that our percentage of students according to, I lost the slide, sorry. Our students last semester, as a last semester, we had 203 students, including the graduate students. And from those 203 students, we have 62% of students who were females and 38% of students were male. And we had 34% of the students who were African Americans, and 45% of the students were Hispanics, and 13% of the students were white, and the rest were with mixed races as they identify. And you can see in our data that we're providing here in the slide that we have students that they have completed the degree. We have around 176 students that we have graduated as right now. And we hope that we will continue bringing those numbers up. So now I'm going to transition to Dr. Fernandez, and she will talk about the rest of the services that we provide in our program.
Hi, so this is Sophie Fernandez. Thank you for being here. So I've had the opportunity to work with Fostering Panther Pride. Most recently, last year, we conducted a program evaluation of the program because we thought we were at a good time to do so. But really, we designed the program evaluation kind of as an opportunity to also engage our students in the program in a different way. So the evaluation was very student-driven, and it really revolved around 2 broad questions, which were the student perspectives of the services utilized through the FPP program, and also the extent to which those services were actually meeting their needs in college. So here's an overview of the different services that are provided by FPP and that our students are using. So you could take a look at that. Tuition exemption processing is at the top of our list because obviously that does happen at FPP to help them ensure that their tuition exemptions are processed. And then right under that, you see food pantry and toiletry pantry and our housing scholarship. So those are 2 really critical pieces of FPP and kind of right in line with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, critical for the importance of our students. After that, you'll see monthly meetings with the success coach or the director. And these are actually mandatory for our students who are active in FPP. And we also have workshops that are highly attended. They're utilized as a way to gain the activity activity requirements. So each semester students are required to attend 4 different activities in order to remain eligible for some additional scholarships throughout the semester. So those are highly attended through our program. We also provide book voucher refunds, priority enrollment for classes, academic support and advising, FPP social events, which you'll see a little less than half of our students are actively participating in. We have a computer lab, textbook library. There's a mentoring program through FPP. We provide referral to counseling services, laptop loaners, other community referrals, and then there's an emergency need fund. So this is not a comprehensive list, but it does provide an overview of some of our major services that we provide. Next slide. So I just wanted to share a few of our best practices and our key components from the evaluation. And again, this was from the student perspectives. So our monthly meetings, like I mentioned, are mandatory, and these are with the director, so Anna, and also the success coach, Barbie. These are mandatory, but they're also supported. So they're widely useful from the perspective of our students for academic planning and advising, but they're also helpful for managing kind of the emotional and mental challenges of just balancing school, work, and personal life. So this is a really great opportunity for the success coach to check in with our students and kind of address any challenges that are coming up as they do come up in a timely fashion, as opposed to waiting to the end of the semester when it might be too late to intervene. So this is one of our staple monthly meetings. Next, workshops, like I mentioned, these are highly utilized. So they're a place that we meet our students frequently each semester. And these are organized both in-house by FPP, specifically for our FPP students, but also by other FIU entities like our counseling and psychological services program on campus. We have a healthy living program, academic advising center. So they cover a range of topics, and there's many that are offered each semester. And they're an opportunity for an educational engagement, but also opportunities for social connection and social support. And also just a good opportunity for integration within the larger university. Some future focus and recommendations that we received from our evaluation. So we have a lot of students are at the point now where they're graduating. So we do have requests for the preparation for the transition out of college into independent lives. So this is something that we have been more intentional and more deliberate about incorporating into our program to assist them with that transition. And then also we saw a request for increasing non-mandatory and kind of informal inter-FPP opportunities for community building. So that's also something that we have tried to incorporate throughout this year. Next slide. Here is just an overview of some requests for future workshop focuses. So as you can see, leasing apartments and housing is at the top of the list. This is something that a lot of students are nervous about. So we're incorporating lots of these topics into our curriculum now. And then right after that, you see emotional well-being and stress management. So although this is kind of a program to support them through their academic process, a lot of our students, do identify these kinds of things that are important to their overall success. And that's something that we continue to focus on, and we continue to kind of check in with them about, so that we can make sure that we're incorporating their requests into our program as well. So I think we're going to transition now to some of our more research focused and intensive programs with Hui Huan.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Hui Huang. I'm an assistant professor in School of Social Work at FIU. As our team mentioned earlier, FPP the university has been very mindful of involving researchers in evaluating and studying the FPP program, and with the purpose to use the research to inform what's the best practice. So I posted the announcement here on the left side was we actually had a Fostering Panther Pride Research Day. So my name is there, and as well as 2 other researchers. So 3 research team led 3 research projects. So on FPP. So what I'm going to talk about today is findings our research team found in that research study. So the title of our research study is Bridging the FPP Mentors and the Former Foster Youth and Homeless Students Mixed Method Approach. So I was working with 4 PhD students at that time on this project. So we have 3 journal articles published peer-reviewed journals based on our findings. For those of you who are interested in more detailed findings, please feel free to contact me. I can send you the articles. So I want to first to talk a little bit about our research design. As I mentioned earlier, it's a mixed method research. So we have qualitative and quantitative part. For the qualitative part, what we did, it's first of all, we want to diversify all the perspectives involved students and service providers related to this population. So we interviewed about 20 former foster youth students experienced homelessness at FIU. And then we also did interviews or focus group meetings with mentors in FIU who are voluntaries, who are volunteers working with FIU with FPP students on mostly one-on-one base. And we also interviewed the success coach. So for the external providers, we also interviewed the education specialist in the child welfare case management agency. We also interviewed direct care provider who's we interviewed the VP of the program of the direct care agency. So that's the interviewees of our qualitative part. For the quantitative part, we get 2 sources of data. First of all, we designed our own survey and with a lot of information on asking students about their participation in the FPP program, like what service they use and what their experience with each particular service, and also their self-evaluation of their different competencies. Besides our own survey, also get data from university registry, which provide data on student GPA and some background information, for example, their high school GPA, which we actually used in our data analysis as a control variable. So now I'm going to talk about the 3 articles to highlight some of the findings. The first one is our article published on Journal of Social Service Research, and this is a study, this is an article focused most on our qualitative findings from interviews and focus group meetings with mentors and the success coach. So a lot of students, a lot of the mentors mentioned about, the service they provided during the mentoring sessions, especially like giving students guidance on time management, also giving students guidance about how to navigate the university in the university, because all the mentors come from the university. They are either faculty member or staff member within the university. So many of them have a lot of knowledge about the service programs available in the university. So they serve as information source for a lot of students. They also do weekly meeting with their students. And also a lot of information we gathered from the success coach was what Sophie and Anna mentioned earlier about the service component provided by FPP. So I'm not going to repeat that, but I want to highlight 2 of the implications we provided in the article. One of that, it's about the multidisciplinary team, which is essentially talking about mentors voice the concern about how to work with students with the mental health needs. Because as you can imagine, many students who come from foster care background deal with trauma. So some of them still struggling with some mental health problems. So for mentors who don't necessarily have a clinic training, they have difficulties with how to better engage these students with mental health needs. So there's the suggestion. It's build a multidisciplinary team, so which involving mentors, success coach, but also involve therapists and also financial aid staff. The reason for financial aid staff is because many of the mental health problems also related to the financial stress students are facing. So the idea is if the team can work together to build a triage approach to better support the students, will have better effects of engaging students and improving their mental health and also their academic performance. The other implication we have from the article is about using systematic approach. As this picture shows, it's talking about getting the feedback from the students, because mentors feel, they don't necessarily knowing how good job they have been doing. So the suggestion is that if they can get feedback, if not, they get through a third party like success coach or the program gather that they will have better information about how well they are doing, or what are the things they can do more or change the way they have been doing the mentoring. And the other suggestions are using more evidence-based matching mechanism, so better match the expertise or experience of the mentor and the needs of the students. So that's the first article. The second article we had, it's published last year on research on social work practice. This study essentially is looking at the timing factor. What's the timing of engaging the program? How does that impact the students' academic performance, which is GPA. So the way we measure the timing is measure how soon students get involved in the program from the time they enrolled in FIU, because there's a variation. Some students get involved as soon as they enroll in FIU in the first semester, but some students waited several semesters, or some of them, could be, enrolled in the third year or fourth year. And usually at that time was when they were already facing a crisis and they need some urgent support. So that's the variation about the timing, how soon they engage. So we were looking at the, the length of time taken for them to engage in the PP program, how that impacts their GPA. So the way we studied that is looking at two different GPAs. The first GPA is looking at their cumulative GPA prior to at the time of their enrollment at PP. And the second GPA we are looking at is the GPA at the end of at the time of their data collection. So our hypothesis is for the students who take longer to enroll in the PP program, their cumulative GPA prior to the program involvement is more likely to suffer because they haven't been getting the service and support of PP for a long time. And our hypothesis for the second GPA about their GPA after enrolling in FPP is that the student, if they enroll for FPP for a longer time, their GPA is going to be better because they've been in the program for a longer time, they benefit from the service and support from the program. And actually our results confirm the both hypotheses, which essentially speaking about the positive effects of early engagement. And for this article, we also have a qualitative component, which is reporting our findings from interviewing 20 students from the FPP program. They spoke very positively about the program in helping them transition into the university and also helping them success in the colleges, helping them knowing the resource, helping them to learn time management and getting academic advising from success coach as well. So for the implication we have from this study is really talking about early engagement. So the idea is to engage students as soon as possible after they enroll in the university, or even before, like what Anna was saying earlier. They have one of their model, it's access, which means, we can even, approach students, reach out to them when they are still in high school. The sooner they engage, the more likely they benefit from the program. And the last article was what we recently published on the journal Families in Society, which is looking at the mental disorders, how that impact students' service utilization and their GPA. So our hypothesis is that students who are struggling with mental health problems are less likely to be engaged in service utilization, and they are likely to have lower GPA. So we don't actually, the results didn't confirm our hypothesis, which is good. But we do find about 30% of the participants reported have at least one diagnosis of mental disorder. The most prevalent one, depressive disorder, ADHD, PTSD, and anxiety disorder. And one positive finding we had is the rate of using mental health services is very high among students report having mental disorders. 75% among the ones with depressive disorder have received the service, 57 among the participants with ADHD, 75% for the ones with PTSD, and 100% of the participants with anxiety disorder. So the rate of service use is very high. And we also find high rates of service receipt. So what the service receipt we were measuring was their service receiving different service from the FPP program, like weekly meeting with success coach, receiving vouchers, and participating in workshops. We didn't find statistically significant difference between the ones with and without the mental disorders. And also, we didn't find a statistically significant difference between the two, the one with and without mental disorders on their GPA. So what we suspect is that there's a component mediating above for the effects of mental disorder on service utilization and the GPA, which could be their high rates of using mental health service. So the implication we had from this study is it's possible for students who have mental disorder to be engaged in this campus support program, to be engaged in academic activity as if they receive mental health service, and also continue being engaged into the campus support program. So if we provide that, we can buffer the effects of mental disorders on their academic performance. So that's all our studies and presentation. So any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. So I'm gonna, if people have questions, I'd like for you to go ahead and type those into the chat box. And And as those come in, I will start to read them out for our presenters. So one question we have is, could you say a little bit more about what your mentoring program looks like?
I can talk about that. So in the beginning, when we start the program, I was managing the mentoring program and matching the faculty and staff with the students. So now we have a different person who is managing the mentoring program with faculty and staff and the other programs, including within student access and success. So we usually have a training and we make a call for the people who wants to be a volunteer. They do receive a training. They do receive support from the person who's managing the program. And then we have them fill out a questionnaire, and we have the students, the success coach and we meet with the students and we ask them if they wanted to be or willing to be paired with a mentor. We usually don't force them to be paired with a mentor. We allow them to make that decision, but we obviously encourage them to have a mentor and to try to have a mentor and see if the relationship will work for them. If it doesn't work, we either change the mentor or they just opt out. But the faculty and staff usually meet with the students. They discuss academic goals, life goals, any skills that they wanted to work on it. And if they have any issues getting in touch with the student, we usually serve as a liaison between the faculty or the staff and the student. But they maintain the relationship. We have had mentors that they start with us since 2014 and they continue to mentoring students. The students, they have graduated and they continue that relationship with the students. So we have to say that it is very positive. We have around 60 students that they have participated with the mentoring within the program. And we, like every semester, we continue encouraging the students to be part of it.
Yeah. I can also add a little bit of things. That's part of the study. I think FPP, like what Anna mentioned earlier, they give training to at the beginning of academic year to all the people who sign up to be mentor, who are faculty and staff. So giving them some guidance how to be a mentor, and some guidelines involving like more structure, like on a monthly basis they have to meet at least 4 hours, and in an interview with the mentors, what I found is many of them, they will meet students for 1 hour per week. So in a month, it's like 4 hours. They will, send out the email to students to say, hey, can we have a lunch together? Usually they have lunch in campus cafeteria, which is convenient for both parties. And so, they will talk about, what the students are, planning, what they are dealing with. And also, I think FPP organizes social events for students and mentors to hang out together.
Okay, great, thank you. So our next question is, what percentage of the youth in your program are homeless versus in foster care or have foster care experience?
Can you repeat that question, Amy, please?
Sure. Sorry, something just popped up. So what percentage of the students in your program are homeless versus foster care?
Last semester, we had 140 students who were using DCF homeless tuition exemption, and we had 62 students using the, DCF tuition exemption that was 140 and 62 homeless.
Yeah, it's about the same. When I gather the study is about 1/3 of the eligible students are students experiencing homelessness.
And if we have to say that what percentage, 30% of the students were homeless and 70% were DCF.
Okay, thank you. So the next question, so this, I'm reading through it. So this one has a little bit of context to build up to it. It says, I'm curious about the youth and their connection to their families. Much research is emerging about the negative impact of separating families and how many youth who are placed in foster care often end up homeless or in the juvenile justice system. So how much are these youth connecting with their families? How much are the youth in your program connecting with their families? And how is Panther Pride including or incorporating families in their work?
We usually, and I have to say from personal experience, my background is child welfare, so before working with the university, but with the group of students that we have in the university, we have a big percentage of the students that age out from foster care because different reasons. We have students who they had the whole entire family incarcerated, but the student continue maintaining contact with the family members, and they graduate and they continue supporting the family members. So we usually don't get involved into that. If they have any issues that they have to address with their family members, and we usually connect them with counseling services in our university, or we connect them with the students with the services within the community to address those issues. We are aware of the issues, and when we have to act, for example, I have a few cases of students who were adopted, and once they turn 18, the adoptees families, they kick them out. So we have had a few students that we did work with them in the past regarding securing housing in the school, trying to connect them with psychological services so they can discuss the issues that they're going, the family dynamics. But we usually don't get involved into that because we don't provide counseling services within the program, but the university does have it.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, there's two parts to this question, so I'll go ahead and give you both, and you can, whoever can answer. So I was wondering who the participants formerly in foster care are, if it was any time in care, kind of what the eligibility is, if adopted youth are included, or things like that, how the youth are identified for the program, and also how are the mental health diagnoses identified? Are those self-disclosed by the participants, or how are those identified?
We usually have three, I would say, the identifiers for the students who age out from foster care, and one will be Road to Independence. Before the legislature changed in Florida, it was called Road to Independence. Now they have two sections. One is PES, and the other one is the one that continues under the supervision of the court. But the university didn't change the name of the students. So once we receive the tuition exemption, that is equal as saying as a waiver, now it's called tuition exemption. They are a different description of the qualifiers for the students to why they are receiving that tuition exemption. So one will be adopted, or will be aging out in care, or will be under the family supervision, or will be, I forgot the other two qualifications, but we don't determine that. That is determined by the CBC agency, is determined by DCF. We only process, but we have three identifiers in the university. One is the DCF Road to Independence, which is the same thing as independent living before. The other one is DCF adoptees, and the other one is DCF. They call it DCF, and I don't know why the university chose that three sections, but it's the same thing because it's the same waiver that we receive from DCF. The part of the mental health, the students, they disclose when they have issues, because once we conduct our orientation for the students, we talk about those services. I usually don't ask the students to disclose their background unless it's necessary. So usually we don't know the story behind why they end up in foster care. If they wanted to share that with us, it is okay to share. And if we have to identify services, it is okay for them to ask for services. We wanted to take that approach when we created the program to allow the students to be, to feel that they are part of the university. They're not attached by a label, or they're not part of a specific group that they have to be discriminated against the rest of the university students. They are treated exactly the same as the other students in the university, obviously with a little bit more of support and more services and more advantage, because they do have financial support too.
Okay, thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
the next question is, and I think this one's referring back to the question that was about homeless youth versus youth who are in foster care. Have you noticed differences in the needs of the students who are homeless versus those who are in foster care? What are some of the things that have stood out in terms of differences in needs between those two groups?
Yes, the first difference that is obvious to us is for when we encounter students who are seeking to receive the tuition exemption for homeless is housing. Securing housing is a big challenge in our school because housing is very limited, but our students, they do have priority. So I will have to say that the amount of resources compared to DCF with the homeless students are very limited. The DCF students, they can have Medicaid until they're 26. Homeless students, if they are full-time students, they cannot have Medicaid, they cannot receive food stamps. They have to be part-time and working technically in order to receive that. So obviously the health disparity, it is a big gap, but I don't think it's only in these two populations, it's everywhere. And if I have to mention two of the biggest challenges is healthcare services for the homeless students and housing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So one other question is, how do you plan to incorporate your research findings into your program?
One of the things was after Dr. Fernandez provide us the feedback, we have been asking, one of the suggestions was to include the students' feedback in regards to incorporate them to the planning sessions. And we have been including the students. We have made some changes in the program, obviously more student-centered. We have done all our efforts to have a sense of community, and we continue working towards that. So we are making more, I would have to say, more efforts in including the students ask, for example, if they wanted to go and have, and we haven't done this, but if, let's say that if they wanted to go a weekend to have a retreat, and we will incorporate that into the program, as you know, as long as the university permits that. So we have been hearing more about the students' petitions in regards to changing the program and how we can serve the students. We have sent surveys before and after to check if what we're doing is what they have asked. And we have included our students to be part of every program that we have.
If I can just add one thing to what Anna said, one of the things that I mentioned was students wanted more informal opportunities to connect. So one thing that we did start as a result of that program evaluation was open weekly groups. And these are non-mandatory, they're open groups, they're very informal. They're usually around a skill. So we try to make them skill-based, but at the same time, they're really just kind of informal opportunities for students to connect with each other and kind of share and support each other. So that was something that we had started at the beginning of this year, which was a really great and wonderful experience to have an additional way to be a part of FPP, at least personally, and something that we were starting to grow. And then of course, with COVID-19 pandemic and all of those transitions, we've actually had to stop those in-person meetings but we're transitioning to online. So that's just one example of the ways that we're providing additional opportunities for the students to connect with each other and have those opportunities for social connection and social support with each other.
Yeah, I can also add some, I think one of the things, this the study we done earlier about the 3 articles, we have been continuing, working gradually, sharing the findings with the program, and that's ongoing collaboration, a conversation about, what to do with the research findings. And I think, the other impact we have, as Dr. Fernandez is initially one of our researchers in our research team. And now she, after she graduated, she's a postdoc, she's taking a lead on continuing doing evaluation for the FPP program. So we do have an ongoing collaboration with the program from researcher side.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We haven't had any other questions come in, so I think that we'll stop here. So thank you so much to all of our presenters today for a wonderful presentation. We enjoyed having you and learning from you. I wanted to let everyone know that this presentation, so the webinar presentation and a PDF of the PowerPoints will both be posted on the NRC FAHE website within the next few days, along with all of the other presentations that we've had over the last year and a half. So we have our whole collection on there if any of you are interested in going back and seeing any of our previous presentations. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.